Reptichip sets the standard for reptile substrates. Made from the highest quality coconut available anywhere in the world, Reptichip allows enthusiasts and keepers to provide their reptiles with the necessary humidity and thermoregulation required for your animals to thrive. You can support the podcast by heading to reptichip.com/snakeboy or visit the link in the description below. This episode is brought to you in part by Exoterra. If you're as passionate about reptiles and amphibians as I am, you know that quality matters. I use Exoterra products on all my reptile and amphibian enclosures, which is why I'm excited to be partnering with them. From naturalistic decor to innovative lighting and enclosures of all sizes, Exoterra has everything you need for your cold-blooded companions. Exoterra. Make your reptiles feel at home. This episode is brought to you in part by Unlimited Exotic Pets. Every day is Veranda Day for Nick Lillis, and it shows. At Unlimited Exotic Pets, Nick produces high-quality monitor lizards with a deep commitment to ethical care practices and top-tier nutrition. These aren't just pets. They're responsibly bred, ethically raised animals. Whether you're looking for a new companion, starting a breeding project, or anything in between, Nick has you covered. Unlimited Exotic Pets, keeping and breeding quality without limitations. Love reptiles? Don't miss this. If you're passionate about reptiles, amphibians, and everything cold-blooded, Reptiles magazine is a must-have. Each issue is packed with expert care tips, stunning photography, and the latest news in the reptile world. Whether you're a seasoned herpetologist or just starting your reptile journey, this magazine has something for you. Subscribe today and stay informed on the best ways to care for your scaly friends. For only $14.99 a year, you can step outside your algorithm and get exposure to things that you wouldn't normally see or learn about. My family reads Reptiles magazine, and you should too. Visit subscribe.reptilesmagazine.com to get started. This is the Expert and the Idiot podcast. If you like the show and you'd like to support us, there's a link to our Patreon in the description below. Some benefits include getting access to new episodes up to a month in advance. There's also links to USARK and USARK Florida. If you're not already a member, please sign up. Enjoy the show. Okay, welcome to episode 92 of The Expert and the Idiot. Today I'm talking to Joe, can you pronounce your last name? DeStefano. All right. Dude, I've said it to myself in my head a million times, and then staring at it, I'm like, I'm going to mess this up. And then I get the anxiety and the panic. And from Meteoric Serpents and DeStefano. Yep. Yeah, it's so easy, bro. So how did you get started in snakes and everything? And I know I've listened to your podcast and I've heard you on Fight Club with Zoolander and Rob Stone, and you started out in ball pythons, right? And then have you always had colubrids, or have you kind of shifted like full bore into colubrids now? Do you still keep ball pythons? How does, where'd you start and how'd you end up here?
It's an interesting story. So my love for reptiles is a little bit different than most people because I grew up in the concrete jungle, not quite the backwoods of Florida or anything. I'm from Queens, New York. So, no real wildlife besides your typical birds, squirrels, and stuff like that. But
New Yorkers.
Yeah. I was always into animals. I wanted to be a vet when I grew up, and spoiler alert, I'm not a vet. But I kept fish when I was young. And then, at 10 years old, we had a local pet store, by us called Paradise Aquarium. That's important for later. And we were in the store one day, looking at stuff. We go into the back to the reptile section, and bunch of snakes, lizards, stuff like that. And I walk up to this one tank and see it's a Texas rat snake posted for $35. And I said to my dad, I'm like, Dad, let's get this snake. Look how cheap it is. And he was like, all right. So he caved. We got the snake. Fast forward, I still have her 15 years later. That was 2011
Wow.
when I got that animal. So I was 10 years old at the time and still have her. And then moving forward from that, no real much of anything from there. I just had the one snake. But when I was 14, 15, I started working at that pet store when I was in high school. So I got a lot of hands-on experience from there. Learned how to like breed reptiles. I was putting the animals together, hatching the eggs, setting up the babies, getting them established. So I learned a lot there. Then, probably about 20, when was it? 2016, I got like my second snake, or maybe slightly before that. I got a second one, then a third one, then a fourth. I had bred snakes at home for the first couple times, which was really cool, just on a small scale with the couple pairs I had. I got some more Texas rat snakes, and that's kind of where my obsession started. I was watching, snake bites and stuff like that. Brian Barczyk became really obsessive, and I was like, I want to do this on a big scale. But I was young. I was living with my parents and stuff like that, and didn't have a lot of space for it. So yeah, and then by the time, so now we're looking at like 2021 or so. My family decides to move to Florida. So my family lives in Boca Raton. I moved there with them. We have more space in the house and stuff. I get a bigger rack system because I convinced my dad, oh, look, I could condense my space. My room in Florida was actually smaller than my room in Queens, funny enough. People would probably think the opposite. So we fit everything in the rack. Well, I have a rack with 10 slots. I got to fill up the rack, right? So then I go to a pet store and get my first ball python. Okay, cool. I had only kept colubrids. And in fact, when I was younger, I used to be that kid that was like, ball pythons are stupid. They're pet rocks, like whatever. I was a big time hater, but I got my first one and it was actually really cool. Like the morphs it has, I was really into it. And then I started getting into that side of the hobby, seeing all the really cool ball python combinations. And that was like, ball pythons were really, really taking off 2021, 2022. The prices were insane on these animals. And I started amassing some ball pythons. I never ditched the colubrids. So yeah, it was always colubrids first, but I got myself some ball pythons. And then I slowly started working the collection, getting a lot more stuff, again, more space in this Florida house. I expanded the amount of animals I had. And then when was it? Maybe about a year and a half ago or so, I had amassed this ball python collection that I just wasn't truly happy with. And I didn't want to be in that rat race anymore of like, oh, I have to keep buying to try to keep up with the market and all that stuff. So I actually sold off a ton of those animals, and started only buying animals that were within a certain morph project, which is the hypo puzzle stuff, which we could talk about if we want to, because that's what I do keep now, ball python wise. It's a double recessive combo, hypo and puzzle. And I started really diving in on the colubrids big time. I started my podcast in the end of 2023, the Colubrid Corruption podcast, which was helping. I wanted to get the word out there to more people because I was so entrenched in the ball pythons and made so many connections that way. And so many of that segment of the hobby just didn't know how cool colubrids were or what species were out there. They were just so laser focused on ball pythons. And I wanted to kind of spread the wealth a little bit. But yeah, now at this point, my collection is mostly colubrids. I'd say, well, I just hatched some ball pythons, so it's actually, the numbers have skewed a little bit, but I have a lot more colubrids than pythons at this point. And really just working with what I have.
Are you still in Florida?
I am not. So I recently moved back to New York. I'm on Long Island. So yeah,
Oh, okay. We're about in Long Island.
Seaford.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
don't know where that is. All my family's from Long Island though.
Okay.
Um,
Where about?
uh, I don't know, man. I could
It's all
start
good.
throwing like towns out and everything, like Riverhead.
Okay, that's
Uh,
farther out east.
yeah,
I'm at
yeah.
like the edge of Nassau County, which is yeah.
Yeah, that sounds familiar too. I know my grandfather. Last time I was there, was to lay my grandfather to rest, and
Oh, I'm
he's
sorry.
laid to rest. And oh, it's all right. I mean, he was almost 90. Uh, he was laid to rest in Calverton National Cemetery.
Okay. Yep.
And yeah, dude, it was like it blizzarded so hard when we were there. It was like 13 or 14 degrees, and I remember I wore Converse and a cotton jacket.
Oh boy.
And I just remember the Converse, like the snow getting packed onto the bottom of my shoes and like sliding down concrete steps and everything. And oh man, it was miserable. I really hate that place. My hat's off to you.
Yeah.
I can't do snow. Not like that. I think that was like kind of unheard of too, though. Like it was a weird storm that came through.
Probably.
So what made you start the podcast? You said that was in 2023, and you're not.
Yeah.
You did that totally independent, right? You're not affiliated with any network or anything. You just decided
Correct.
to do this on your own, and it was just you wanted to try to get more exposure to colubrids.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a reason I called it the Colubrid Corruption Podcast because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to show people who never kept colubrid before just how cool these species were and what they were missing out on. It was in the space where CCR existed, Colubrid and Colubroid Radio. Dr. Zach Loafman and Clint Bartley, they do a fantastic job over there and have way more listenership than I do. They do pre-recorded episodes mostly every 2 weeks. I wanted to do something one in the live podcast space and a bit more consistent than that and really try to get on the best guests I could, which was hard in the beginning, not really knowing a ton of that community because I was so entrenched with the ball python. So I started making a lot of connections that way with the podcast. But I've had nothing but good or mostly positive reviews about the show. It's really the same thing you do, bringing on guests, having them tell their story, talking about the species they keep and things like that. And then some fun episodes off of that, whether it's a panel discussion or, something kind of off topic or a specific topic with a certain guest that I may have had on before. But yeah.
Yeah. What made you go back to New York from Florida?
My girlfriend. We were doing the long distance. So we met in college. So in 2021 we moved, May of 2021. I had 1 year left at college. I was going to school up here on Long Island, and so I lived up here in my fraternity house, full time during the school year. We of course meet in November 2021, and I was like, I knew this would happen. So we did the long distance thing for 3 years, and
wow,
I came back. So
yeah, it's incredibly difficult doing the long distance, and you couldn't. Was there anything that you liked about Florida versus New York from a keeping perspective?
Fully ambient was cool. So funny enough, and you may not relate to this because I know you're in Florida, obviously. So I was down in Boca. It's obviously hot down there. It's not North Florida. At the end, for probably the last year I was there, everything was actually in my garage. And people would sometimes wince at that and be like, no way, Joe, it gets too hot in there. I don't know if it had to do with the angle of the sun or something else. My garage was not insulated. It did not have any HVAC going to it. There was no like mini split in there, But the garage, as long as the door stayed closed, like really did not get over 82 ever,
Mm.
even
Wow.
at peak day, which was really good because, I have like Asian rat snakes that could be sensitive sometimes to temperature, but even that
Yeah.
midday spike never seemed to be a detriment to those species.
Mm. Yeah, that I guess it would so like my house, the way that it's like literally the garage gets blasted with sun from like probably 2 p.m. until sunset. And so it makes it extraordinarily hot in there. I
Yeah.
mean, I remember I was working out one day and I grabbed the temp gun because it felt really hot. And I think it was like 104 degrees in there.
Yeah. Shoot.
And so like, there is no keeping ambient in my garage. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, and I was super diligent. Like I was using Govies before I made that change, like just looking at the temperatures. I'm like, can I do this safely? And then I would get pissed off at my dad sometimes, like if he was doing work around the house and had the garage door open, I'm like, Dad, you gotta close this. Because it's
Yeah.
hotter. It was hotter outside than it was in the garage. Like the garage actually stayed consistent. But if that hot air was getting in, then it would start getting hot in there. And I was just like, come on, gotta close this.
Get your head out of your ass, Dad.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, but actually, I never saw any detriment to keeping that way, which was cool. Luckily, in the room I'm in now, I'm finding it easy to maintain temperature. So, I'm in a 2-bedroom. This uh this room is also my home office because I work remotely currently, and
That's
so
huge.
during the summer, so I moved in March, and it was kind of it was a learning curve. It was like learning, what does the room do? How does it, you know, work with the temperatures? And obviously there's a lot more fluctuation here. Um, and during the summer, I would have to keep the AC running all day. I would keep it on like the eco mode and just have a temperature like in the mid 70s, sometimes lower 70s if it got really hot. But that kept the room nice. Obviously, I keep heat on the pythons to keep them warm. Um, but the colubrids do just fine. And even like the North American stuff, they're still digesting in 2 days, sitting at mid 70s. Like,
Mm.
they're chilling. So
Yeah.
that's cool. But what's also cool is that the house is on oil heat, and each room in the house has its own little dial to control the
Oh,
radiators in the room. So even when the living room gets cooler and we don't want it like hot, I could keep this room controlled compared to the rest of the apartment, which is really
okay.
nice because most people, if they have central whatever, like, they don't have that luxury.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was
What?
worried about that too, but when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, like I scored."
Yeah, yeah. So do you keep you still keep predominantly in racks?
Yes. Yeah, the only thing I currently have in an enclosure is a adult female rhino rat snake, which I'll be introducing a male to her this spring and probably cohabiting them mostly full time.
Oh, okay. And what does their enclosure look like?
It's a 3x2x2. It's a black box cage I picked up secondhand for a really good price. And like when I saw it, because I wanted to do this and I was searching, I stumbled across this thing. I said, this is an opportunity I cannot lose. So I did that. I set it up nice. A bunch of, I'm not doing the naturalist. I mean, it's semi-naturalistic, but there's fake plants in there. Just a straight LED light, no UVB because they are susceptible to like sunburns and stuff.
Mm.
Multiple hide areas with different logs and whatnot, and climbing, of course. But and it had a custom like cork background in there, which was really cool. So, um, yeah,
That's interesting. I didn't know that they could get sunburns, rhino rats.
yeah. The Gonyosoma genus is a little bit. Their skin is very sensitive. They're susceptible to, if they're too wet, they get like blisters, and if you're pumping too much sun, or UVB equivalent, it could be detrimental to them.
Oh, wow. And that goes for all Gonyosoma?
I know the oxycephalum for sure, which are the red-tailed green rats, and the rhinos. Definitely. I'm not too sure about the other 3 or 4 in the species, in the genus, or they've reclassified it a bunch. Taxonomies sucks, but yeah.
How does keeping colubrids, like, how is it different from keeping pythons or boas?
A good bit. You're cleaning a lot more. Um, you feed and you're getting poop 2 days later and 4 days later, and sometimes a third time from that one meal. I actually, with the ball pythons at least, because I feed to breed in my collection. I'm not saying I overfeed, but like I feed my ball pythons weekly. But yeah, so the frequency is about the same, except like baby colubrids, I usually try to do every 5 days. Even baby ball python, same kind of thing. Sometimes even baby colubrids, you could go every 4 days, and like they're just fine because they clear, tiny pinky like extremely quickly through their digestive system. So it's more so frequency of cleaning and just the type of meals, and just different things to look at. A lot more activity in the
Do you,
species.
do you have to provide them more enrichment or things to kind of enrich their tub compared to ball pythons, or do you provide the same for your ball pythons?
I'll be honest, I don't do that for the ball pythons as much. And I know arguments can be made, but ball pythons are just like, they sit in one spot and they sit in one spot. Like I don't observe mine doing much of anything, like ever.
Mm.
The colubrids, yeah, I provide them with hides, even if it's as simple as a little piece of, I mean, depending on the size of the snake, like a piece of cardboard, just put that flat on the substrate and you'll see them, they'll crawl right under that. Cause, if you go out herping, what are you going to find them under? You're going to find them under tin. You're going to find them under rocks that they got under through little crevices. So they're going to do that and they're just going to park themselves right under there. But yeah, I try to do that a bit more for the colubrids and give them hiding places and stuff they could feel more comfortable, sometimes deeper substrate so they could burrow down a little bit more and stuff like that.
How did you like Colubrid Fest? What was that experience like? Is that something that you want to see continue to happen every year? Is that something you look forward to, being a big Colubrid guy?
Absolutely. Yeah. As Zach and Clint put it, I've been one of the biggest cheerleaders of Colubrid Fest since its inception, which I have. Yeah, it was an awesome event. I went year one. Um, I was part of one of the speaking panels that time. I was on a big panel with other people though. This year I gave my own talk actually at the show. I vended both years. It's just a really fun time, a really great way for the community to come together. It's a bunch of legit people. It's not like walking into your typical reptile show and, there's half-assed breeders there and like, or flippers and stuff like that. And, a bunch of
Flippers are the
people.
worst, dude.
Yeah. And a
They're
bunch of people who, are just there for a petting zoo. Colubrid Fest is a true event. A lot of people networking, a lot of people who are just really passionate about the animals. The entire weekend experience is something like no other show out there. And that's why, we kind of stress that it's an event. It's something for everyone to really come and see and experience for themselves. And it's very engaging with everyone. And if you leave there not making friends, then that was on you. You chose not to socialize because
yeah.
everyone's there because of their passion for the animals. And yeah, it's been really cool to make those connections. Like I said, obviously I started the podcast before that, but I started having some of these people as guests and breeders I really respect, and getting to meet them at year one and also year two was just phenomenal. Because I'm young, I'm still newer into the hobby. Like I'm no expert. I just go on the internet and talk into a microphone. But like, so meeting these people is actually really, really cool to me.
Yeah. What were there any things that you went that, like, because I know that there's talks and everything. Are there any talks that you listened to or went to and you were like, oh wow, I didn't know that? Like, is there any like really cool information that you took away from it?
So some of the talks are more like, for example, I gave a talk this year, a solo talk, basically how to start a project as a newer / younger keeper in the hobby. And basically, I just went through the motions of how people get very excited as they get into the hobby. They start amassing a collection, but then they want to breed reptiles. And now they have a whole hodgepodge collection of a bunch of different snakes they don't know what to do with. Maybe they don't have room for babies, stuff like that. Then they start the recycle of starting to sell off snakes because they want to get other ones. And now they've just wasted a ton of time, money, and other stuff. And the sooner you could get a newer person in the hobby to stop making those mistakes, because everyone's going to make them, but if you can limit them, I think that's extremely important. So I think stuff like that really left a message with people, and a lot of people complimented that talk. Then you had ones like Dr. Zach Whitman, who I traveled with actually. He gave a talk this year on basically a lot of the diseases and viruses that are prevalent in Colubridge right now. Those were insightful, learning how to see symptoms of some of this stuff. Excuse me. And preventative measures of how to, take care of this stuff. And there was one on quarantine and things like that from John Rice, who's manic ADHD, super sterile hognose collection. So yeah, just a lot of insightful stuff. It's very interesting. I think there's something everyone can take away from all of the talks.
So I want to go back to your talk and talking about, getting started and projects and everything. And like, can you kind of, I know that, maybe you have some of it drilled into your head, but can you kind of go through some of those steps on how to have a successful project?
Yeah. And this isn't to say that I'm an expert by any means, and, hence the name of the podcast, but like, I really don't consider myself an expert. I consider myself someone who also made those mistakes and who messed up.
All right. Well, that's all we have time for today, Joe. Thanks for coming on. No.
So yeah, I mean, look, so like I said, everyone is going to make those mistakes to some extent. It always happens, but you want to start with research, of course. You're looking to get your first reptile. What are you looking for? You want to try to absorb content about, species you might be interested in. Go look at pictures. Go think, hey, do you think this snake looks cool? What do you want to do with it? Then, there are podcast resources out there. Go listen to those podcasts, hear breeders talk about the species, and see, what do you think about their experience? Obviously, not everyone's experiences are the same, but take something away from that. Don't walk into a reptile expo and go impulse purchase an animal, even though that inevitably will probably happen, but limit those purchases. And if you do, purchase from the right person. Kind of things like that. But once you really find that species, and that's hard to do, by the way, I got lucky, and that's what I said during the talk. I got lucky with like the Texas rat snakes. It was the first snake I kept, and I said, hey, these are cool. I really want to work with these, even though not a lot of people like them. They're kind of common pet, especially like the leucistic ones. But like, I want to work with these. There's something there that needs to be brought out. So great. That's what I chose to do. I started buying animals. I started buying different males, different females, different genetic mutations within the species, even cool normals that have cool colors and patterns. They're so variable that, if you choose high quality animals, that you're going to reap the rewards from that. So you got to go into it. You got to look at what are your goals within the species. You got to look, is it popular? Is it marketable? These are all things you want to look at. There's also the element of prepping for having babies. Can you afford to feed babies? Baby colubrids, you breed 2 pairs of snakes, you could have 40 snakes on your hands. Do you have the ability to house and feed 40 baby snakes? What happens if 20 of those 40 are still in your house a year later? Like, can you keep up with their care? Can you feed? Can you keep them appropriately? There are so many factors to look at. And I think some of these things get lost in the allure of, I want to go do this. I want to keep and breed snakes. So it was really just stressing, like, be diligent, be passionate about what you're keeping, and like, just think of these things ahead of time. It was mostly be prepared and do as much as you need to do to prevent, just falling out of the hobby, or, so many things could happen. Yeah.
It's, I feel like it's interesting because I think I got back into keeping over 2 years ago now, and I never thought in a million years that I would be so obsessed with Argentine boas. So like it's weird watching your own experience and watching it evolve, and I think spreading that information with people that maybe they do want to breed, like taking the time to figure out what you really are passionate about and what you really are falling in love with, and for me it's like there's a few things that I'm really into. I'm really into jungle carpet pythons, and God, I wish I could get maybe 2 more pairs, or at least a couple more females, and but I just don't have the space for them because I keep in enclosures, and especially Morelia, like they're, in my opinion, they're not a snake that's meant to be kept in a tub or a rack.
Sure.
Just watching them and how they utilize their enclosure, and they go up high and they hang from branches. It's like 2/3 of their body is up on a branch and the other third is hanging down. It's right. Like, I wouldn't want to deprive them of that. That's just me personally. But the Antaresia or another one, spotted pythons, I fell in love with, which I didn't anticipate that. And they're kind of, you never know what kind of snake you're going to pull out of the enclosure either, whether it's going to be, curious and fun, or if it's just going to want to gnaw on your hand, which is always a, interesting. And, blood pythons, I've fallen in love with those. And it's just like over the course of 2 years, I think I started out with a ball python and now I have no ball pythons, because I was like, all right, this isn't really doing it for me, because I do like watching my animals and having them very visible, and sometimes I feel like, when I had my ball python, I had a pair, but when I had them, it was really cool when I did see them out and doing stuff and exploring their enclosure and everything. That was actually really rewarding. But they ended up going to a good guy, and he put in an RO system for me, and I traded him the pair of snakes, and it worked out. But yeah, I totally agree with you. Just like, I guess one of the biggest takeaways from what you said is like, you don't really want to rush into things, right? And because what if you kind of sour on that project? That project is living animals, so what are you going to do with them now? And it's not easy. It's not easy to go and get rid of adult snakes, or even it's not easy to sell snakes in general. It's really not. They don't move quickly, and like, that's something that I've come to terms with as well, is that when I start producing stuff, like, you're going to put them up and they're probably going to hang around for probably 6 or 8 months, maybe more. It's not like they're going to fly out the door, especially like, and then, like you said, feeding them, housing them, it's a big commitment. I
Yep.
know Argentine boas, I've seen litters where they have 30 or 40 offspring. Like that's
Yeah.
crazy. That is a crazy amount of snakes to have to
Yeah.
feed and house,
Yeah. People don't think about that. It's like, you get a collection of, let's say you get a collection of even 10 ball pythons, right? Let's say you go 3.7 on that, right? 3 males, 7 females. If, which is very hard, if you get all 10 to breed that year and you're looking at about 6 eggs per clutch, it's typically the average for the ball pythons. 7 times 6, you're looking at that. Maybe that's a bad example, but it's still 40 animals. You go from 10 to 52. You just times your collection by 5. Now you have to put in way more time and all that stuff. And if you don't have the room or the capability to do that, and feeders and all that stuff, which is its own issue, feeders especially, it's a big one. I don't think people really think about their consequences before they go and do it.
Yeah, feeders, and then like getting animals started too is another thing that they like. How are you? So you produced the bamboo rat snakes for the first time this past season, right?
Yep.
How was it getting them started? What was that experience like?
Actually, very easy, to my surprise.
Nice.
Frozen thawed, red hot pinks, drop fed. They eat quickly.
Nice.
I produced 2 in my first clutch, and then that same female gave me 5 eggs, 5 good eggs on her second clutch this year. Right now, 4 of the 5 have eaten 3 meals, and then there's one that ate the second time it was offered, but refused the first and third time, which is strange. So I know it's probably okay, but maybe it needs a little TLC.
Yeah. That that's common in colubrids, right? The double clutching where they have, or did you repair her, or do they retain sperm and save it for another clutch?
The bamboo rat snakes are extremely prolific. They could actually go like 4, triple, quad clutches in a season, like no problem.
Wow.
Yeah, they're interesting. There's a few species that can. Usually double is the standard if animals can go more than once. But yeah, the bamboo rats can go multiple times, which I tried to go for a third time. It didn't work out this season. They went a little late, so I'm going to kind of recycle them this winter, get them started ASAP, in the spring, and see what happens.
And how are you cycling the bamboo rats? Is it food or temperature?
No, it's both. So the typical brumation for many colubrids, you kind of just get their temps down low lighting, no food. The bamboo rats, I keep the coxeye in particular. That's the subspecies. They actually don't need brumation, but I still want to give them a winter to get their bodies prepped. They come from the mountains in Thailand. For whatever reason, as opposed to the other 3 subspecies, they don't need to be brumated. But either way, I want to give them that time off, let their bodies recycle and start fresh in the springtime.
Nice. Yeah, they're really beautiful snakes. There's so many colubrids that I look at them and I'm like, man, that is such a pretty snake. And it's just their natural form, which is so cool. I mean, like the mandarin rats are another one that just blow my mind every time I see them. That's something that when I see them at a show, it stops me in my tracks.
Definitely.
Them and the gray banded kings. Those are awesome too. The Alterna. I love them. So many cool looking colubrids out there. I feel like if I were to start getting into colubrids, it would be a bad situation. It's a
big rabbit hole. There's a lot of species and a lot of stuff you could get into.
Yeah. The indigos too That's another one that I'm very intrigued by, just the size and how cool they are. But man, like, very active snake. Yeah, it's something, I don't know. At some point, maybe we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
Nice.
I don't know. I'm on the fence. I'm definitely, interested. I want to get black milks too. I
Okay.
love black milk snakes. I think that I think those are like some of the coolest colubrids out there. I just love the change that they go through,
Yeah.
and their natural history too, I think is really fascinating. So going back to Colubrid Fest and the talks, and you said that Dr. Zach did the a talk on diseases. What are some of the what are you looking out for with colubrids? Because I know with like pythons, it's mostly serpentovirus that you're
Yep.
concerned about. Me personally, I do a very long quarantine, wait for them to go through a few sheds. My quarantine can range from I have animals that are still in quarantine from February. So I love having them go through several shed cycles and different, with the weather changing and everything. And, if any mucus or anything shows up, I'm trying to get samples out as soon as possible just to, verify that it's not serpentovirus,
Yeah.
So what are you looking for in colubrids? What's that like?
Crypto is the big one, the big C. Crypto's a rough one because that can really ravage through a collection depending on the species you keep. It seems to affect rat snakes the most, especially. But crypto's a big one. It's a mostly gastrointestinal thing that it latches on somewhere in that entire system and basically makes the snakes skinny because they're not getting the nutrients, makes them regurge, makes them have weird poops. So that's a big one to look at. And, if your animals have that and they feel the effects, because some animals can be asymptomatic, of course, but if they get that, then, they're kind of done for. They're going to expire at some point. So that's a big one. He talked about this new one that's going around, which I hope I'm not misquoting him. I believe they're calling snake polio.
What?
Like unofficially. I believe it came out in 2023, and oh man, I hope I'm getting this right, but people are noticing the snakes who have this are basically going into some weird neurological shock. They seem all messed up. They were perfectly fine animals, and then they start acting like they have a neurological issue.
Oh, wow.
And they're dying from it.
Jeez, that's terrifying.
Yeah, so that's one that's on the rise and not it's not super prevalent, but it's out there.
Jeez. Now with the wasn't there like a big scare or something going on with hognose snakes recently? Was that crypto?
Yeah, it was crypto. I'm not into that world at all with the hognoses, honestly. So I know who the breeder is that they're saying it is, but I don't have enough information to say anything on it, so I'm gonna kind of leave it at that.
Oh yeah, I don't want to, bring up anybody's names or anything like that, but I know I had heard something about it, and I didn't know like like if they were specifically at risk more than other colubrids, or
I honestly don't know, to be honest, because I know the rat snakes are definitely susceptible. I have no clue about hogs.
Okay.
I've never, and I've had hognose guests on my show, but like I'm just not that into hogs personally, so I'm not deep into that world.
Okay. I don't know where my Argentine boa went. She's like 6.5 feet long, and she was hanging her head out the door when we started, and now she's gone. Yeah.
You let her free roam?
Oh, there she is. She's popping out over here.
Oh, okay.
She'll rub and push when I'm in the room, so I have to open the door, and usually she just wants to hang her head out.
Okay.
But she totally left and went over to this other side of the room.
Nice.
But yeah, she can't really get into too much trouble because of how big she is. So yeah,
Gotcha.
she's
Makes sense.
my wife was actually asking, she's like, do you want the boys to let her out of her cage like when we get home, from school in the afternoon? Because she's always like, she just sits there. It's bizarre, dude. Like she sits there and stares and makes you feel bad. And then like if you come in the room, she'll rattle the door and just like bump it back and forth. And yeah, she's like a dog, dude. I think she's a dog in a snake's body.
Nice.
But you just brought up the Texas rats. What does your project for Texas rats look like? And your original animal that you got, that your dad, so graciously let you get as a kid, which probably kicked off your whole addiction.
Oh yeah.
What like, is she still part of your breeding project, or are you doing localities, morphs? Are you line breeding for certain traits and looks? Like what are you doing with those?
Yeah. So I have no localities, so I'll start with that. Although some locality animals are badass. They're really cool. You just had Chris Montross on. I just listened to that episode, or it just got posted at least. Chris has some really cool, they're Louisiana rats, but they would be considered taxonomically with the Texas. They are Texas rats from Louisiana, if you will.
Okay.
But he has some really cool stuff there. My projects are more centered around the morphs and potentially line breeding some cool normal animals, and maybe even some mutations within the animals. I work with a lot of scaleless stuff, which I know can be controversial to some people. I actually don't have that many visual scaleless right now.
Why is that? Why is that controversial?
I don't know, because people think that the scaleless rat snakes are like the scaleless ball pythons. Scaleless ball pythons do not do well. They don't have belly scales, and like they are inferior to a normal snake. Whereas the scaleless Texas rats, all the rat snakes that have scaleless forms, they have belly scales. They function the exact same way a scaled animal would. I have not had any issues with them. I keep them the same. I do everything the same, and they are perfect animals. And they look badass. So there's no other way to put that. And it's not some people's cup of tea. Some of them don't like them, but it is what it is. Most people who have seen the one snake that I have, which has been like my mascot at Colubrid Fest these last couple of years, all of them say, even if they're not into scaleless, like she's just such a cool snake because she's so unique. So a lot of my projects,
scaleless like bearded dragons. It wasn't. Are there scaleless bearded dragons? Like, isn't there some issue with like heat or something? Like they can overheat or they dehydrate. I can't remember. Like
I don't know.
I remember hearing that, but I've never really heard like the argument for the rat snakes.
Yeah, I don't really know. I think people, when I say controversial, I think people just literally don't know anything, and they just assume, oh, it doesn't have scales, like it's a defect, which I guess scientifically, is it a defect? Maybe, but like, does it affect the animal's life? Not whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like I said, I keep these animals the exact same way, and I get the same results.
So maybe like in nature, it would be a defect. There might be drawbacks, but in captivity, it's not that big of a deal.
In nature, I would say the biggest thing would be defending against predators, because their skin is a lot softer. It could probably let's take a bird, for example. Bird that's like digging their beak in. I think a bird can do a lot more damage, or anything with claws, to a scaleless animal rather than a scaled animal. Obviously, in captivity, where
they're not getting
them. Yeah, mutilated. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So that's just the thing. And also, the scaleless just brings out a whole different color palette that you cannot get on scaled animals. It's just wild.
What kind of colors? Like what are you seeing?
A lot of orange, blacks, whites. You just get such a varying degree of those colors, and some of the oranges are just extreme. Again, something you just can't achieve in scaled versions of the animals. And the patterns too. The patterns are wild. So yeah, there's that. That's the scaleless. I have a bit of the leucistic in my collection. Leucistic has been so tied into the Texas rats for a very long time. I actually want to not breed for leucistic. Pretty much any animal going forward that I keep, like any visual leucistics I hit, I just don't want, because it takes away all the patterns, and I want the patterns and the colors. So yeah, there's that. But a lot of people like leucistics for pets. They're cool. I have the anery in there. Anery is really cool, especially the scaleless aneries. You get your jet black and white snakes. They're just very, very cool. The anery is accentuated with the scaleless because all that orange that you would have had on a normal scaleless animal turns to turns to white, black and white. So
wow,
super cool there. And I have some albino. I've never had a visual albino in the collection, but it's working in with a lot of hets there. And then with that, so you have all that. You have your mutations, but within those, some of these animals, some of these normal animals are just really cool looking. The species itself is extremely variable compared to their other North American rat counterparts. Black rat snakes are black rat snakes. They're going to be, varying ranges of how dark black they get, but a black rat snake's a black rat. A yellow rat is a yellow rat. Sometimes it could be a little dirtier or cleaner. You have an Everglades rat, it's an Everglades rat. Texas rats, you get such a wide range of colors. I've seen yellows, you see oranges, you see reds, you see, different types of brown. Sometimes you get drab ones that are just kind of more gray and brown toned, and it's just like, all right, whatever. But the amount of colors that you can get expressed in these normal animals is insane. And I don't think people quite understand that, I think there's so much untapped possibility within the species. And maybe I'm crazy, and maybe, I'll just keep breeding my Texas rats over here and no one really cares. But the thing is that the North American rats make such good first pets. Texas rats have a bad rap for being aggressive. They're not. None of my adult snakes bite me, and I mean that sincerely. Every picture you look up, if you look up Texas rat snake on Google, within the first 2 pictures, you're going to see a snake reared up with their mouth open. So they have a bad rap, but I love them. That's what it is. And to go back to one of your original questions, that original snake is not in the breeding rotation anymore. She's just a pet.
Okay. How many times has she bred for you?
Twice, years ago. Yeah, I actually proved out that she was het for scaleless, and we never knew that. I think the second time I bred her, which was in 2019, I bred her to a scaleless animal, and I got some scaleless. So that was cool. That a 2010 hatchling proved out het scaleless 9 years later.
Yeah. So you got her in 2011?
I got her in 2011. Yep.
Wow. That's cool. What's their life expectancy for a rat snake?
She's the oldest one I've ever had. I always like to give the standard 20-year reptile thing. I think that's a very fair estimation. I'm not sure if there are records of any living way past that. It would be cool if there are. I'm just not sure.
Yeah. Is she still going strong? Can you tell that she's getting up there? Or?
I think with the way she like moves, you could tell by her head that she's just like a very mature animal. I will admit she is definitely stunted. Just because when I was a kid, I don't think we were feeding her often enough or big enough meals at the time. So she's never gotten to this like huge size. She's actually quite small, but you could just tell from like her head structure and whatnot that she's a mature animal. But no,
Mm,
she eats like a champ. She is hungry. Um,
nice.
she'll eat anything I give her. So yeah.
Do you think that she's really stunted, or do you think that genetically she could just be a smaller animal?
No, she's stunted.
Oh, way
I
to
could
go,
I could
Joe.
I can promise you that. Yeah, I was a little kid, these are things you learn. Um
How are
now
you feeding her?
just like small meals, not that often, sometimes every other week, like, you
Okay.
know, whatever it was.
Just not going to cut it for a rat snake.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Okay. What are there any other Asian rat snakes that you're working with, or is it just the bamboo rats and the
Uh, I have the rhinos. Um
okay.
and then it's another subspecies of the bamboo rat snakes, the volantai, as opposed to the coxai. Those are the Chinese ones. And other than that, that's it for now. I'd like to maybe get more in the future, but right now, with where my collection is at, I am locked in, locked down, not adding anything, any new species, I should say. I would add on to the projects I have, but no new species right now.
Oh, okay. Now, if well, like what like immediately, I kind of want to make you break that down. What would you be looking at outside of this? Like if somebody said, "Hey, you have more room, more, whatever, like more of whatever you'd need to expand out, what would you get more of as far as colubrids? But also, would there be any other pythons that you would add to your collection outside of ball pythons, or is that it, just ball pythons?
I'm not close to the idea of more pythons. I actually, Steven corrupted me. I really like his scrubs, although where I'm at in New York, I don't think I could legally keep most scrubs except the Halmaheras, maybe,
Yeah.
if I'm pointing out the correct one. I think they're just really cool looking. So I would never say never. I just don't know. Um, Colubrid wise, let's see. I've been really liking, and it's because a lot of the guests on my show, they're corrupting me. The Leonis, the variable kings,
Mm.
um, really cool species, and variability is my whole shtick for a lot of stuff. So I really like those guys. Potentially other Asian species, I would consider mandarins. I would consider, um, let's see, space wasn't an issue. Maybe the Janseni, Gonyosoma janseni,
Oh
which
yeah.
are really cool animals. 100 flower rat snakes, the Mullendorfi.
So these so you were talking about the variable kings.
Yeah, you could look up Leonis. It's the
Oh
species
man.
name.
Wow. Yeah, let me see. I'll try to share this. Go on, keep talking. What other colubrids are you looking
Yeah.
at?
Shoot. Maybe just to complete the collection as a collectionist, probably the other two subspecies of the bamboo rats, the Laticinctus and Poulter, um,
Mm,
just so I could have all four. Uh, yeah, I'm sure I could do a lot if I was given a lot of space and a lot of money to expand the
sure.
collection. I'd probably keep a lot, but yeah, I don't know. Right now, like I said, it's just kind of about working within my means. I've spent a lot of money, I've invested a lot of time, and now it's time to, kind of reap what I've built over the last few years.
Yeah, start really dialing in. So, like, how long does it take to get uh a colubrid like a Texas rat, how long does it take to get them up to breeding size?
For females, I like 4 years personally. I think 4 years is a really good number. You can probably push to 3, though I don't recommend it. You're probably going to have an animal that stays on the smaller end and who gives you small clutches. Nice size eggs, but small clutches. Whereas if you wait till that animal is 4 to 5 years old, you are more likely to get bigger clutches and big eggs with that. Texas rats compared to something like corns, like corn snakes lay really small eggs, and though they're, semi-related there, it's just different. Texas rats lay these nice, like, oblong eggs that are a good size, and these babies hatch robust. Like, I could get a clutch up to, fuzzies after about 2 months sometimes.
Oh, wow.
If they hatch big enough. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. The king snakes are really cool, man. Do you have any king snakes, or are you just dabbling in it with the idea?
Yeah, I have a couple California kings. I picked up a nice pair that I liked. But yeah, that's about it. Literally just a pair.
Nice. Yeah, gosh, I don't know what I would do if I started getting into like gray banded or something. It's they're so cool looking.
Yeah.
So what with the what are the restrictions? Because you had mentioned like you probably wouldn't be able to get much of what like Steven has available as far as scrubs outside of the homes. Or maybe, I guess probably Nata too. Right, they're on the smaller side.
Yeah, I don't know the exact laws, to be completely honest, and maybe I should be a bit better about this. So what I do know in New York City, so back where I lived in Queens, and this is why I never got exposure to ball pythons back there. In New York City, it is illegal to have python and boa species. A bunch of people have them, but it is technically illegal.
What? Like even like
Yes.
Antaresia? Just any python or boa?
Any python or boa species in New York City is illegal.
Wow. Why?
New York City sucks.
Wow, that is crazy. Huh.
But outside the 5 boroughs, you are allowed to keep pythons. That's why all the reptile shows, there's no reptile shows in New York City, because it would just greatly it just takes away ball pythons are big show snakes. Like, there just wouldn't be a reptile show.
Wow.
There's one today here on Long Island. And obviously I have the ball pythons, and I'm saying it publicly because I'm on Long Island, and it's perfectly fine. So yeah, they're in upstate. It's perfectly fine. But I do think that you cannot keep the large python species. And if I believe correctly, I think the New York laws say amethystina, which I believe Steven told me. Maybe he told me that, or he was talking about the Florida laws.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure, but it's the larger python species you cannot have in the state.
Yeah, I know that's how Florida is. Like,
yeah.
I think it's the amethystina is what is prohibited, that and kinghorn eye, which, okay, yeah, let me just go out and get one of those. But yeah, there's not. I thought it was really restrictive, but there's actually, like, you can keep the Moluccans as well in Florida. I know that the ones that really are weird are the ones that have like a size limit on what you can keep, because it's like, I don't know, it's like so bizarre. It's like you can't have it if it's over 9 feet. Well,
right.
It might not reach that, but if it does, it's such a stupid way to do legislation. Well, that would be cool to see you get maybe some Halms or something. That would be cool.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of room for expanding the collection at this point until I'm in my own house.
Mm,
So until that happens, it's probably going to be still this mostly colubrids with a few ball python side projects.
yeah. How many ball pythons do you have?
So I was at 11 before I hatched some babies, plus another 13. So I guess it's technically 24 right now, but
Okay.
most of these are not staying. Um,
Mm,
some proven breeders are gonna fly along with some of these babies once they're established. So
okay. And when you're looking at ball pythons and projects, are you looking at big potential, oh, if I hit this combo, then it'll, pay for this project or whatever? Are you looking for things that are going to sell easily as pet ball pythons and they're kind of pretty snakes and tried and true morphs?
no, so I'm kind of, I guess, somewhere in between that. My small but focused ball python collection revolves entirely around, and I don't know how your listenership looks like, if any of them are ball python people, but my project revolves around the Hypo Puzzle project, which is a double recessive. It's mostly the puzzle that's the cool stuff. It's a pattern mutation. Um, Along the lines of, the clown ball python was a big revolution in uh, that side. The puzzle is kind of the new takeover. It's a big time pattern gene. It does a lot of cool stuff. You throw hypo on top of that, which is mostly pigment. Make some really cool animals. So that's what I've decided my small focus project to be. I like the project. I like puzzle animals. So I'm just trying to make the coolest puzzles, hypo puzzles, and combos from there.
Nice. Yeah, I had a spot nose clown, and then I
Okay.
had a what was my male to make a potential Pompeii? It would have been
Fire,
like
yellow
red,
belly, red stripe.
yeah, yellow belly, red stripe. I get, yeah. Is that? So he had fire in him too. Then is that part?
Maybe not fire. Yellow belly, red stripe, black pastel.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, that. And I remember like it was like, oh, 1 in 32 odds, and 6 egg clutches, and I just like I think I kind of like I wanted that to happen, and then I don't know, it didn't mesh with me and what I want to do. Like I didn't want to be like I didn't want to have eggs and have them hatch out and be disappointed. Like I want whatever I have to
There's a
be,
lot of that.
yeah, like whatever I have, whatever eventually hatches out or is born, like I just want to be like, hey, this is super cool because of what it is.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be straight up with you. Like I can, there's a world I could see myself where I get tired of the ball pythons and just throw in the towel and just go full colubrid. Um, I wrestle with it every so often. I almost did it, like I said a couple years ago, when I kind of downsized. I sold off a bunch of ball pythons and just went smaller, and of what I wanted to keep. But there's sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to play this game anymore. It's so dumb. And why am I trying to compete with this? But what keeps me in is that I do like this project and I want to see it through with the animals I have here. So um I'm keeping my head down for now, but there is a world where maybe in 3 years I throw in that towel and just say nope to ball pythons.
Why do you say it's dumb? Is it dumb because there's people doing it at such a scale that those are like that it kind of casts an enormous shadow over guys that are doing it on a smaller scale?
Oh, there's an element of that. Yeah, so the scale is a big one. When you have so many females, you could throw a powerhouse male to and make all these badass animals because the odds are in your favor. Um, there's an element of the way I'm keeping, like, I have to make special arrangements for the ball pythons with like the heating and stuff, like, and I have to give this dedicated space to them in my room. Um, let's see, and with incubation as well, because there's that factor. Because I incubate the colubrids a lot differently. Um, yeah, and again, it becomes a money thing too. I don't want to have to keep buying $1,000 plus animals to play keep up, or
Yeah, to stay relevant.
to stay relevant or stay hot. Like, you know, I'm tired. I spent a lot of that money a few years ago, and I'm tired of it, especially as this collection expands and my upkeep costs more. Uh, and which, by the way, next year should be a big year of breeding for me, so I'm expecting to see a bit better of a return than I have the past couple years. But yeah, so it gets tiring sometimes. And you're just
Yeah.
like, what am I? You think to yourself, what are you really doing? Like, so I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like there's guys that do it to breed rather, pet ball pythons, which I think is, cool, because I think that they are such a good staple pet. But
Yeah,
like the people that are doing it at scale, like, Bob Vu, and, like the people that are doing it and producing these incredible animals, and and then producing like kind of when they have stuff that hatches out that isn't hitting what they want to hit, like there's your pet ball python, and it just, like, for somebody like me, it was like, what am I doing? I like, why am I even gonna try breeding ball pythons?
yeah,
I should, at the scale I'm at, I should be focused more on the stuff that I'm really passionate about, just as a keeper,
right.
and reproducing those things. I knew that I would get a lot more enjoyment out of hatching out spotted pythons, than I would with ball pythons,
Yeah,
What about boas? Have you ever had any interest in boas?
no, I'll be honest. I
That's
just
so sad.
haven't. Oh, back to pythons. I'm sorry. I would be interested in chondros.
Oh, okay.
I would be potentially interested. I don't know if I'd ever attempt breeding, but if I definitely like to keep at least one as a pet at some point.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, they're really cool. But you know what's going to happen? You're going to get one as a pet, and then you're going to
Yeah,
get another one.
maybe. Very likely, but
Yeah, that's how it works. You get one, and then you go crazy. It's so weird because you don't, like, people don't do that. Like, you don't get like I mean, I'm sure people do, but like, people don't get a pet guinea pig and go, I should have a pair of guinea pigs and reproduce them. I
yeah.
don't I don't know why that is. Like, what is wrong? And I know it's not all snake keepers. I know that there's a lot of people that have like one of this and one of that. And I used to be that way. Uh, but I remember when I used to be that way, I was like, oh, I wish I had more space so I could make
Well,
this a
because
pair and make.
I think via social media, via YouTube, the breeding is sensationalized. You go look at Brian. If well, maybe not anymore. If you go deep and find the old Brian Barczyk videos, I mean, that's what got me wanting to do reptiles on a big scale. I showed this
Mm,
to my parents. I'm like, I want to do this. Now you have Snake Discovery, and I'll be completely honest, I haven't watched any of their videos in a very long time, because I think I've just aged out of that bracket. But the videos I did used to watch, they would show off the animals that they're breeding and hatching, and then they design their zoo and stuff like that, and that's inspiring to kids. They want to breed reptiles.
mm. Yeah. Do you think that that's something that we should be inspiring kids to do?
That's an interesting question. There's probably a lot to unpack there. Um, it probably depends on a lot of factors. Overall, for the sake of the hobby, yes. Do I think it's meant for everyone? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
To put that simply.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if there was more of an emphasis put on the care that you give to the animal rather than the potential dollar signs that can come from keeping the animal. It maybe that would at least for like young people, for like focus on having one animal or and really finding your passion like we talked about before
Yeah.
and finding the best way to care for that animal and yeah.
I think honestly, we are probably on our way once a lot of these old school flipper guys get out. I think we'll see a revolution of that start to go away and things done a little more ethically. Now, there are some bad actors out there, of course. But we still have, you know, the older generation. No offense to anyone older, but a lot of these people you see are old school reptile guys. They've been in it for a very long time. Um and I'm talking specifically about these like flipper tables that you see, and just speaking on the ethics issue. Once that generation of people is over and done with, I think maybe we'll see things change a little bit more.
Yeah, just to clarify, you're not talking about like the older generation that's producing their own animals and selling them because I mean
Absolutely
those
not.
yeah,
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 absolutely not. No, because
yeah,
those
cuz
guys, we're talking about the pioneers there.
yeah,
Those are the people that have done good for the hobby. I'm talking about the guys who bring, you know, hundred hundreds of animals on their flipper tables that are in shit condition, and
yeah,
who, sell the wrong person a sick animal, and that person never comes back to reptiles again.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I went to a flipper's house once and
Really
yeah, it was not a good experience. Like I didn't realize that he was until I was there and there was like 20 different forms of mite treatment laying around, like all different like
nice.
pest strips, like from like pest strips to frontline to
Oh
preventamite
man.
to like just like everywhere, like all different aerosol cans and spray bottles of stuff everywhere to where I was like, I want to get out of here so bad right
Yeah.
now.
Start scratching.
Oh, dude, yeah. Like I think I showered 4 times that day and like set my clothes on fire
Yeah.
and it's and I did kind of talk some trash about like pet shops too and I shouldn't do that because I think pet shops are really cool and important and I think some do it extraordinary, they do it the right way,
Yeah.
but there are other ones where you walk around and you're like, that's sick, that is has poop with maggots on it, like that, like you're seeing like all these things and it just makes your skin crawl. But
Yeah.
that's not always the case, but it is often the case, where you have a place that has a macaw and all this other stuff, and then yeah, they have snakes too, and they're not giving them the level of care that they need or deserve.
Right.
um but yeah, it's interesting. I mean, overall, I think that the hobby is in a really great place.
I
I
think
think
so.
that what I really like about it is the diversity of the hobby right now, of all of the different ways that people are going about keeping, and the fact that uh that there's folks like you out there, and myself, I guess, anybody that
Yeah.
has a podcast that is having on people and talking to them and finding out how they care for their animals and how to do it better, whether it's for breeding or just for keeping.
Yeah. You're a warrior with the podcast, dude. You started after me and are at more episodes than me. So I gotta give respects there. You talk to a lot of people. Uh but yeah, no, I mean, and I've talked to MJ about this a bunch. He's like, these podcasts are a catalog forever. Like no one can take the, if even if YouTube goes away tomorrow, which it wouldn't, but like they're on the audio platforms, and like that is a resource for
Yeah.
everyone. Um And the more we as podcasters bring on good people that are doing things the right way, I think there's something to learn from just about everyone in the hobby.
Yeah. Do you think that we should celebrate just keeping pet snakes more, like that it shouldn't
Yeah.
always be trying to sell people pairs, and just like kind of normalizing or just saying like, hey, it's really like there's nothing wrong with just keeping a pet snake or multiple pet snakes and not reproducing them?
Yeah, there's no problem with it at all. And sometimes maybe I fail to see that side of it a little bit just because, and I was that guy for a while. But it was mostly because I was a little kid. I always wanted to breed the reptiles. So it just, it's a different mindset. I guess for me, it's like breeding is like the pinnacle. It's so cool to me hatching your own babies, getting them established, taking care of them, uh, just getting the eggs. Even like I don't know. It's indescribable to me. I think it's just such a cool feeling, and it's such a great achievement. When I get eggs, I'm just like, yeah, like the feeling never goes away, and especially hatching them too. Where some people just don't care about that and want to see the snakes interact, and I'm just like, interesting, but that's fine
Hmm.
too. I have no qualms with that. Um, and in fact, if that kind of person wanted one of my snakes, I think that's a huge compliment.
Yeah. Yeah. If they, yeah. And it's, it's super cool, like seeing people that keep like these relatively small animals that are normally kept in small enclosures or even tubs, and like these big enclosures where they're like, thriving. And it's like, hey, that's cool too. And like, I don't think that we should shit on that
No,
just
there's
because
no.
it's not. Yeah, go on.
I was gonna say my only argument to that, and you're correct. I don't think we as breeders, like, I don't think anyone has a right to shit on someone for giving a very nice big enclosure. If the animal is doing well, like that's all. That's all the proof you need that it's fine. Um, if the animal's eating, pooping, whatever, like, then it's good. What I do have a problem with though are the reptile pet elitists that are like keyboard warriors and think they think think they know something when I don't know. They if you go in like reptile Facebook groups, it's just a cesspool of shitty information and people shitting on each other. It's
Yeah,
just like, and then when people tell you you have to put this animal in a 4x2x2 or else, it's like, why? Like,
yeah,
do you have to, or do you recommend that? Like, saying you have to is a bit extreme. Like, saying you have to put a corn snake in a 4x2x2 is honestly ridiculous. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that like they say it as fact. It's like you have to put it in this or you're mistreating your animal. And like that's what's wrong with that side of the hobby. And I've had discussions
mm,
about this on my show too. And it's just unfortunate because then it becomes a pitted breeders versus keepers argument when it shouldn't be. It just should be, if you want to keep this way, go for it. If someone's been breeding reptiles, has good quality stuff for 30 years and keeps them in rack tubs, like, that shouldn't be a problem. Can they give better care? Of course they probably could. But if that person wasn't doing if the breeder wasn't doing things, the way they've been doing it, you may not have some of the snakes that you have in your nice 4x2x2s. So, they're quick to attack the breeders. And then the breeders, the opposite is true. It's like those are the
yeah,
people buying your animals. So don't
yeah,
insult them when they say something, but also it just shouldn't be so combative and such like the people that say these things are saying it as facts when it's not. It's their opinion that a corn snake needs to be in a 4x2x2. That is not a fact. That is your opinion that they should be.
yeah. It's
That was a lot. I'm sorry. I ranted.
No, it's fine because I agree with it. I think that there needs to be more kindness and understanding from both ends of the spectrum because you see it go back and forth. And it's like, it's the most, every time I see a comment or a post that is kind of along the lines of what you just said, whether, no matter what side the shot is being fired from, it's just like, ugh, ugh, can't we just like appreciate each other within this hobby and this community for, you know, and I know I've talked about this before, is just like quality of care is the number one priority, right? And like
100%.
if somebody is not caring for their animal and it's in an enclosure that's filled with poop and maggots and just sitting in its own pee and mold and nastiness, like no, yeah, we don't want that person.
Yeah.
We don't want that. We don't, that's the person that people should be getting bent out of shape over, but
Yeah.
if somebody keeps their snake in an immaculate, adequately sized tub and that snake is being well cared for, then that's priority number one is the level of care given to that animal,
Yeah.
And I mean, it's the same thing. Like you could have a 4x2x2 but it could be not properly enriched. And when I say enriched, I mean, with places to hide
Yeah.
and, crawl on, and then it's just like a barren wasteland, so yeah, I can see it from both perspectives for sure. I think that people just need to be more kind in general.
Well, there's that too, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I have this real aversion to not being kind. I really, it, and like when I see stuff like that, it's like, like I don't like, especially like if it how it is on Facebook, like with all the friends you have on there.
Oh yeah.
Like most of them, you don't even know who they are. It's just like, oh, they have a snake on their profile picture, therefore they are my friend. And then you see them post something where it's this vitriol and attacking somebody or something or how they do it. And it's like immediately I'm like, unfriend.
Yeah.
I just don't want that,
The only time I contribute in like reptile
Oh shit.
Facebook groups.
I'm waiting for you to say is when somebody
No.
get on.
No, I was going to say the only time I contribute is if I see the post fresh, there's no comments, usually regarding a rat snake species, and I could give like the first comment on there and just get my input slid on there, and I don't want to see anyone else's comments. And then usually because I commented first, the person will respond to me. That's about the only time I participate. Or sometimes if I'm sharing my own animals, but otherwise, nope.
Yeah. Yeah, so many times I see I'll see a question or somebody asking for an opinion or something like that, and then I'll go into the comments and like you'll see that somebody answered it and nailed it, like, or 6 people have, and you're like, oh cool, we're good. And then you get the random person that's being mean or whatever. But yeah, I will say I can't believe that you haven't thought about getting any blood pythons.
No, too big. I don't want them.
Ah, well,
It's
lost.
Just so in my. So the way I've been able to keep reptiles, it's like I'm on a small scale, but I'm also keeping relatively small snakes, right? I just don't have the room for these bigger species either. So I've never been interested because I know I can't house them properly.
So where do you end up seeing kind of yourself and your projects and the podcast and all of that in the next 5 years or 10 years?
Yeah. It's hard to think about sometimes because I'm just like, where could I be? Hopefully I'd like to own my own house by then. Hopefully way well before then. But if I could keep expanding on the projects I'm working on, expanding on the species I'm working on, I'm a bit of a completionist. Like I just want to have these things so I could say I did it, and especially on the breeding end. So I don't quite know. I don't think any of the species I have right now besides maybe the ball pythons, I'll particularly like get out of. I think the passion will be there still, but I'm a young dude, so I have a lot of time left in this hobby. So I really don't know. I don't know where it's going to take me.
Hmm. When you started the podcast, was it just were you just starting to get into the colubrids and like really like fully into the colubrids and you just wanted to learn more and did you know that it was going to give you the connections and the knowledge that it would, or was that a sort of a happy byproduct?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking forward to it because I wanted to get more out there to other people, and I knew I would learn a lot along the way, and I have learned a lot in the last it's almost 2 years, 2 full years now. So yeah, I mean, I was worried that like no one would watch it and I'd just be wasting my time, but that's not true. And people like it. And yeah, so now I have quote unquote job to do, I guess, in the hobby. I feel a sense of responsibility to put this content out there. So I'll keep doing that. As long as people are
Nice.
watching, I'll keep talking.
Yeah. Now you said earlier that it's been mostly positive. Has there been any kind of negative stuff that's come your way that and how have you dealt with that?
Nah, just like a stupid YouTube comment here or there. Or I'll see
Oh
that
yeah.
there's a dislike on the episode. I'm like, for what? For what? I have it's like a 96% like ratio, and I'm just like, what possibly could you have disliked this for?
Yeah.
Uh someone commented recently on like an older episode and was just like, if you cut out the intro fluff, you might have more audience retention. I'm like, my intro is 5 to 7 minutes before I get the guest on there. Like, what possibly more do you want? Like, it's not that much time. I give some
Yeah.
shout outs. I say thank you to my sponsor. That's about it. And I've had that intro routine for since I started, and obviously audience has retained. So
Yeah.
uh, win me, loss for commenter. So I don't know. You get that stupid stuff, and I know we talked about something recently on the DMs, and it's just like that stuff's always going to come, but people are always going to listen to the show. It is what it is.
Yeah. I recently had a guy go through a couple episodes and like put random shitty comments and it's funny because I went to go respond, and I think when I went to go respond, he had already deleted them, and I'm just like, all right, and I me personally, I try to put out a lot of content so that way, if it's on something like let's say on Sunday, a colubrid episode comes out, and
Yeah.
you don't want to listen to anything about colubrids. Well, then on Wednesday, there's a guy that talks about pythons on, so
Yeah.
it's like, just wait 4 days or 7 days,
Yeah.
and
And no, so your podcast is interesting compared to mine and a lot of other people's, like the way they do their stuff. I have the unfortunate part, and why you've been able to probably grow a lot faster than me is that I pigeonholed myself into colubrids. Now, here and there, I'll have a guest that has a little more of a diverse collection. Like I've had Patrick Holmes, who, him for chondros, right? And venomous stuff probably, but Patrick keeps some colubrids and he's really into that stuff. And the Boega is, colubroid. So, all that stuff applies. Whereas you have a lot more to talk about. You don't pigeonhole yourself into anything. So you're able to have a wider range of guests, a wider range of topics, and that's what you're able to do. And if people, if they want to skip an episode here or there, okay, that's their problem. People probably skip my episodes if they're not that interested in the guest. So,
yeah,
it's just it's the podcast landscape. It is what it is.
yeah. I mean, we're super niche as it is already.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about reptiles.
Yeah. It's not, and now do you ever see yourself sort of branching out into more vlogging and, projects and things like that? And while still maintaining the podcast?
I've done some YouTube videos here and there that go on my channel. Some of them, and those honestly don't get a lot of views. I try to structure them so that they hopefully get views. I don't know. I like that stuff too, but actually people seem to tune into my channel more for the podcast than anything else. And when I put out a YouTube video, it's like my subscribers vanish. So I don't really know. I like doing that stuff, and if I had more of an audience that wanted to see it, I would probably do it more. Unfortunately, even the podcast, it takes up time. Like, people probably don't look that much into it. And I know you have a Patreon, I have a Patreon. It's like we put a lot of our time, effort, and it costs money to run these shows and put them, publish them out places. It's like, I exert a lot into it. I've had people complain about ads and stuff like on YouTube or even the audio platforms. It's like, guys, I'm trying to, I got to do what I got to do to make it worth it to me. And you guys listening is awesome, but like, I need to make my time worth it, because I'm a busy person too, and I dedicate a lot to try to get episodes weekly out to you people. So
yeah, I feel that. I work 10-hour shifts, so I can work anywhere from 40 to 60 hours a week. And then, I'm a father and a husband on top of that.
Yeah.
And I have a collection of snakes that need to be cared for. And, fortunately, I have a wife that's like super supportive and, helps occupy the kids while I record, and the kids help with water changes, nice. So like there's, like the family is helping with this. And, like I've had the complaints as well about the ads run on YouTube, and it's like, hey, I have software that I pay for. Sometimes, editing a podcast and putting it together can take, for me, hours, because I'm a perfectionist with audio and things like that. I try to make everything sound and look as good as possible. And, I'm probably making like $2 an hour to do it. It's passion and love.
Yeah. And some people might frame it as, oh, you're just trying to make money. It's like, no, I'm trying to get my time's worth out of it. Like, I'm not getting rich off the podcast. Like, I've made on YouTube, like, it's nothing. It's literally, it's pennies compared to like what you think, or your favorite YouTuber out there that has millions of subscribers. Like, they make money. I don't make shit. Money.
Yeah.
There's no other way to put that. I mean, respect to all of you, and to anyone who actually watches the shows. I appreciate it. I'm sure Adam does too, but we put a lot of time and effort. So I just want you to consider that before you think about leaving a nasty comment or complaining about an aspect of the show. Because if you're listening, that means you wanted to get something out of it.
Yeah. And just be kind. It's that's all you have to do. It's such an easy thing to do. It's like, if it's not a nice thing to say, then don't say it at all. Like, we all have shitty comments go through our head all the time. We have mean, nasty things go through our heads, and you can either opt to let that out of your mouth or channel it through your thumbs into the internet, or just be kind, and I do my best to choose the latter, and I respect people that do the same.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, it's such a cool, and I'm not going to lie. Like, I started this, selfishly to gain knowledge, like I wanted the education. I wanted the education that's going to come along with it to invite people like yourself on to be able to just sit down and talk about how you keep and what drives you and not, put any judgment on you for how you keep or how, anybody else keeps or, and sit there and think, well, I wouldn't do that. Or why do you do this way? And, all that, just having the respect for the individual to listen to them and try to learn everything you can from that person and see their perspective of the hobby. Cause I think it's such an individualized thing too. Like the hobby is so,
Absolutely.
it's so, yeah. Like we all do things a little bit differently.
Yep.
Do you keep fish?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
I did when I was a kid, and I am interested in fish again. I can't have a tank right now.
Yeah.
I would like
house.
Yeah, I would like to do a really nice planted like Amazon type tank.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always what I've wanted to do too.
Yeah.
You know who's got like the sickest fish tank is Randy Piggies.
Oh, really?
With oh man, yeah. He's got discus and
nice.
It's just an incredible aquarium that he has set up.
Nice.
At some point I'd like to do something like that. Or even get like an aquatic snake. What are those ones called? With the weird little tubes coming off their noses. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
What are those?
I can't think of it right now. Tentacle snakes?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Maybe.
Aquatic snakes.
You're going to get pictures in Nerodia.
Freshwater. Well, they're semi-aquatic, right? Oh, yep. Yeah, you're damn right. They're like, yep. They're like water moccasins, Nerodia. Are they? I bet they are tentacle snakes. Dr. Tillis has those.
Okay.
And they were like, my kids were obsessed with staring at I can't remember if he had one or two. Yes. Yeah. Tentacle snakes. Yeah. Tentacled snakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Those look really wild. Super cool little snakes. Those would be fun to get. That would be I wonder if they're a colubrid.
I don't know what they would be considered. I'm no scientist.
Wait a minute. I thought that's why you were on here. Colubrid. Let's see if they're a colubrid. Oh, they are.
Yeah, I figured they probably were, but I wasn't sure.
There you go. You should get somebody on your podcast to talk just about tentacled snakes.
Yeah, Mike Clarkson is the guy for that. Yeah, I would consider having him on.
Do you do a lot of herping?
I don't.
Do you do any herping?
No, I really haven't. For the most part, even when I was down in Florida, and people are like, dude, you lived in South Florida, like this and that. But like, I was also in Boca Raton. And if anyone knows what Boca Raton is, it's super developed, like high traffic, a lot of people in that area. I don't know where to go. I would need someone to take me somewhere. Like, I just wouldn't know what I'm doing. And I'm not going to go out into some, South Florida wilderness solo.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And people, could say what they want about that. I'd love to go to Texas, maybe go find some Texas rat snakes of my own. A dream herping trip would be somewhere in Southeast Asia, China perhaps, or Vietnam, something like that. Finding like a rhino rat in the wild would be nuts. But yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna have to shame you a little bit for not going out and looking for pythons in Boca Raton, dude.
Yeah.
You were right there. I think Derek Roddy was in your neighborhood when you were down there. He specializes in black-headed pythons, and
Okay.
yeah, he's a big herper too. You could have connected with him.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm not familiar with him, to be honest. So yeah.
Are your folks in still in Boca Raton?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, next time you come down, we'll have to do a herping expedition.
Okay. Sounds good. But
Yeah,
where are you again? You're West Coast, right?
Yeah, I'm on the west coast of Florida,
Okay.
on the Gulf side.
Nice.
But yeah. All right, man. Well, is there anything else you want to add? Anything else you want to talk about?
I don't know, unless you got something else for me. I don't know. Did I miss anything? Colubrids are cool for anyone who listens to this that doesn't has never kept a colubrid. Check them out. Go do some research on some species, and I think you'll find something you like. And whether you just keep one or you start getting into them, because I know you have a lot of Python and Boa listeners, get corrupted, as I would like to say.
Yeah, and you need to maybe get a boa or something.
Maybe. I'm doing my part with a python. They might be an inferior python, but I have.
No, they're not. Ball pythons are cool. I what I actually want to do is I want to get ball pythons again. I want to get a pair, but no, I want to get a locality, which Dr. Tillis has some locality ball pythons that he collected himself.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'd actually really would like to get a pair of those. And I think Eric Kohler has some offspring of that locality. And
nice.
They are just, I think they are like the most normal ball pythons you can find.
Yeah, probably.
Which
that's
all right with me.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.